What I've learned knocking over 100,000 residential doors. Today in this video, what I'm going to do is describe to you guys specifically what you need to do if you're a door knocker to get out there and make sure that you get results immediately, that you're not lagging behind, and that door knocking is a source for you to get leads, appointments, and listings, and all the things that you're looking for regardless of what sales industry you're in. You ready? Let's do this. Lesson number one is volume, right? If you're out there and you want to door knock, you're going to have to understand that starting out, you're not going to be good. Whether you pick up a script, you want to figure it out yourself, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort. You're going to fail a lot. You're going to have to make sure that you get out there and that you knock on 50, 100, 150, 200 doors every single day, because one of the first mistakes that I see a lot of people make is they don't do enough volume. They theory too much, they try to find the perfect script, and they spend too much time watching videos or reading books instead of actually getting out there and knocking on doors. And the number one way for you to learn, besides learning from people like me, is to get out there and door knock. So if you do residential doors like I did, the easiest way to do it is pick a place and go. A lot of people are going to try to nitpick, oh, I want to find the best, doors and this and that. Forget all that extra research. That stuff is going to come later. The first and foremost and most principal thing that you need to do is get out there and bang on doors. And I would recommend that all of you, as a bare minimum, you start with about 100 doors a day. That's going to take you in a regular residential neighborhood probably 2 or 2.5 hours. You're going to have, if you knock on 100 doors, you're probably going to have anywhere from 20 to 35 conversations, and it's going to be a good use of your time because you're going to average anywhere from 7 to 10 contacts per hour, and it's going to give you that in-field experience. And after about 30 to 60 days of doing that 5, 6, 7 days a week, you will begin to spot patterns, you will begin to recognize your mistakes, and you're going to be able to bring the data back to your coach, whoever that is, me, so-and-so, and say, hey, this is what's happening, this is what I'm hearing, this is where I'm struggling, what do I need to do next? And then from there, you go back to the drawing board, you make the adjustments, and you start making the strides and progressions that you need to get better. And the only way we can do that, is by having the data. And the way that we get the data is through real in-field experience from you. You got to get out there and do this. So I'd recommend, as a minimum, you knock on 100 doors a day, if not 150. If you got to split it up into 2 sessions, do it, but you got to get out there and bang at least 100 doors a day if you want to see any significant improvement in a couple months. Number 2, we have the first piece, which is knocking on a lot of doors. The second one is you need to make sure that you're doing a constant deep dive on developing and improving your communication skills. What I love most about door-to-door is there's no hiding behind a phone, there's no hiding behind a screen. Your insecurities will be exposed. You're right there, real life, in person with somebody right in your face, and that's gonna force you to flesh out all the errors, because if you don't have good body language, you don't smile, and you have a lot of these issues, which are mistakes that we all make before we develop, you will be exposed. You will not get the result. People are going to feel uncomfortable. You're not going to have good interactions at the door, and it's going to be tough. So by doing a deep dive, what I mean is by getting specific coaching and training, making sure that you're reading, you're studying body language, you're understanding evolutionary psychology, you've studied or you're actively studying NLP and hypnosis, right? You're role playing, you have your script or whatever, kind of system that you're going to follow, and you're practicing that and drilling that at least an hour or two every single day, and you're putting in the work to get better. Because what we want to do outside of just the real experience is simulate. And what I mean by simulate is the practice sessions. Record yourself, right? Do mock presentations, do mock door knocks where you get with your partner and you pretend that you're doing a live door knock. Be as realistic as possible. Be tough on each other, because when you do this, you drill and you drill and you drill and you drill. That's the second best thing you can do in addition to getting a lot of experience by getting out there and door knocking to improve your skills, right? And these first two, for a lot of people, they never do because they're scared, they don't want to put in the work, or they're just flat out afraid because they feel unprepared. But there's no way to change that feeling. You're always going to feel uncomfortable, right? I door knocked for years and years and years, 6 and 7 days a week, and I can tell you the best teacher was experience, right? I've done a lot of coaching and training and all that, but the number one thing that helped me, the top two, was number 1, getting a lot of doors, but number 2, this piece. I worked my ass off to get good. I role played 2 hours a day, recorded my presentations, recorded my phone calls, 2 hours a day. Are you willing to do that? I did that 6 or 7 days a week. Same thing with knocking doors. I knock doors 6, 7 days a week, at least 3 hours a day. And that dedication to developing your skill set and learning, you have to learn from the best, right? If you follow me or other people, you need to learn from us, because as an example, right? Let's say you came to one of my lectures for Distinguished Agent, which is one of my coaching platforms. I can take you to the vault of 10 lectures that I've done specifically on door knocking that is at a level that you're not going to find in other places because people don't have the experience of having knocked on over 100,000 doors to teach you. So all the mistakes that I made, I can help you with that, right? I can help shorten that learning curve. I can make you better quicker. It took me years to learn things that I can teach you in a couple months. That's the advantage of learning from somebody who's done it, been there, right? And gotten the results and has the experience. So that's definitely something that you guys can't skip. If you're starting out on YouTube, that's great. I have a ton of playlists on cold calling and door knocking that you can watch that are fantastic, that even for free, I guarantee you, is probably gonna be better than some of the stuff that you pay for. But it's coming from experience, and that's why. And you have to dedicate yourself and put communication at the top. Become a student, a bona fide student of communication, right? Make it a thing that every day you go out and you talk to strangers and you do something to develop your skill set. If you do that and you commit to that, your results in door knocking and just in life will skyrocket because your self-esteem is going to improve, your confidence is going to improve, and your overall ability to go out there and get it is going to improve. And we know the more action you take and the more consistent you are, the better results you're going to get. Number 3 in this game. This game is won emotionally, meaning for those of you who are out there door knocking, one of the toughest things for individuals is to be consistent. And when I say that, I mean, you may be able to last the first couple days or week, but you're not going to get results because nobody ever does right away. You're going to get your ass kicked, you're going to get rejected, and your own mind and your own emotional state is going to weigh on you more than anything. You may have people around you doubting you, you may have naysayers, you may have haters, you may have all of that. You have people questioning you from day one. I'm speaking from experience, y'all. So, number 3 is to be able to cultivate not only a routine, but a lifestyle and environment that's going to allow you to create sustainability, because that's the toughest thing. When we start hurting emotionally, when we start getting down on ourselves, when we start letting fear take over, when we let frustration get the best of us, what happens? We stop being consistent. And when you stop being consistent in this game, you lose, because you know, if you've done it before, those of you who maybe are a little bit more experienced, when you get that momentum and you build it and you start to get results, it's intoxicating, it's beautiful. But when you let off and then you got to start over again, that's not a good feeling, is it? So we want to make sure that you stay sustainable and that you stay consistent. And that's going to require the cultivation and development of a very powerful mindset, which leads to a heightened, clear, calm, collected emotional state. And that's what you want. So we have to start with things like not taking it personal. If you get rejected, let's say I knocked on this door and I got rejected, they're rejecting my service or my offer. They're not rejecting me. They don't know me. Why would I take that personal? Now, that's easier said than done, but it's one of the pieces that one has to start developing in the mind and learning, because if you don't, that stuff starts to add up and it leaves a residue, an emotional residue on your nervous system and your beingness, and you start getting frustrated. Then 3 days later, you suddenly don't feel motivated. When you don't feel motivated and you don't want to do what you said you want to do, all that is our lack of ability in controlling our emotional state. That's all that is. And if you were able to develop a stronger mindset, have more control over your emotional state, doing these things would be easy. Rejection would bounce off of you. Every time you heard a no, you would just know that, hey, I'm one step closer to a yes, because you're living more in your conscious and logical mind versus being reactive and living in a heightened and too finicky emotional state, right? You want to become the puppet master. You want to be able to control and create your emotional state, not let it be manipulated by outside circumstances and people. And this is something, again, that you have to learn from your elders, but you also actively have to make sure that you're engaging and putting yourself in situations every day, like when you door knock, to test this. Why? It's easy to read, it's easy to watch a video. It's another thing to come here live, get your ass kicked, and respond accordingly. When you get insulted, are you gonna hold your head up high and smile and move on? Or are you gonna bitch and complain and blame them? You see, this is key. And we need to make sure that we're always cultivating that powerful, calm, cool, collected, smooth, easygoing emotional state. And then in the next point, I'm gonna cover something that's super important too that builds on this, but this number 3 to me for longevity is the most important when it comes to door knocking. Next, this would be number 4, your gait. Your gait is how you present yourself, how you walk, your posture, right? Your facial expression, how you're holding your facial muscles. One of the biggest mistakes that I had early on was I didn't realize that I always had that tough guy face. I was never smiling, and that intimidates people. That makes you less receptive as a communicator, and it makes people more closed off to interacting with you because they think you're a threat. Subconsciously, that communicates the wrong things. And if we're in sales and we want to provide a service and we want to help people, we need people to be receptive to us and view us as a non-threat or somebody pleasant that they would want to talk to. In addition, when you smile, you're indicating to the world from an expression standpoint, from a physiological standpoint, that you're winning. So by the time you get to the door and knock, they've already assessed you. They've looked at you, and in 1 or 2 seconds, they've already put you in a box. And you want to make sure that how you dress, how you carry your facial expression, your mood, your energy, communicates to them clearly that you're somebody that they want to talk to and want to give a chance to. Otherwise, they're not going to open the door, right? So one of the things that I added to this when I started talking to people about door knocking was how you dress is important. I knew early on that if I went door to door and I wore a black suit with a white shirt and a black tie, I'm immediately going to put into the box of religious or Mormon. If I wear the gray suit, I'm going to be put in the category of the Jehovah's Witness, right? If I wear that polo, I'm going to be put in the category of solar person. And what I learned from that is, hey, I need to win the game before I get into the interaction. And that image, right, and the energy that I put off is key. So I need to be smiley, I need to dress and move differently than these other archetypes that are out there, because if I get put in that box, I won't even have a chance. They won't even open the door. Or they'll just look through the window and say, hey, I'm not interested in Mormonism or whatever, goodbye. And this isn't a diss on them. I just want to make sure that I create fascination, I create mystery, and we can say intrigue enough to get them to open the door, because once they open the door, I'm in the game now because I can communicate and we can talk, right? So this is key, not just from a dressing standpoint, but the first original point that I made on this number 4, which is smiling and making sure that you have a winning energy. When you go out, if you smile, people are going to want to talk to you. If you make people laugh, people are going to be like, hey, who are they? I want to be with them. I want to hang out with them. They sound like they're winning, they're enjoying life, and that's what it's about. People are attracted to that type of energy and vibe. And if you can give that when you're door knocking, man, your ability to have conversations, have good conversations, get people's contact information, make a sale, whatever it is that you want to do at the door is going to skyrocket, because now you're giving off the vibe that people want to connect with, and that's key. So check how you carry yourself, check how you dress, check your facial expressions, and make sure that from an internal and external standpoint, you're giving off the right signals and things to get people to be more receptive. Next point, y'all. One of the biggest issues that I see with people door knocking, and one of my best pieces of advice is, this is the long game. Many of you are going to get into door knocking and think that you're going to get crazy results your first day or your first week, and that may happen, but this is the long game. You need to understand that the payoff of you going door to door consistently for 3 months, 6 months, or a year can set you up for the rest of your life if you do this thing correctly. So if you can't get the sale on the spot, get their contact information, follow up with them, do what you got to do, because again, very rarely are you going to get a sale on the spot regardless of what you sell. If you only focus on that, that's cool, and you'll get a certain level of results. But if you focus on that and playing the long game with people and your strategies and everything that you're doing, you will see that 3, 6 months, a year from now, you will have a booming business. Your pipeline is going to be bursting with leads. You're going to have more appointments, and you're going to have more opportunities, because the reality is most people that we meet right now are not ready necessarily to buy now. They may not want to. They may not be motivated today. Does that mean they're not going to be motivated tomorrow or next week or next month? No, they may be. And the only way you're going to know is if you're good and sharp at getting people now, but also playing the long game. And if you can learn to do both, and you can develop a strategy and the systems and the processes to sell now, but also sell to people in the future, you will set yourself up for long-term success. What's up, doggy? So what I recommend for you is, as you're developing your skills, also develop the ability to connect with people, build a relationship, capture their information, and start building up your systems and processes on the back end. This is easy if you have coaching, right? Because you can just plug into whatever that system is. But if you don't, right, you're gonna have to develop your own systems and processes to say, hey, if somebody tells me they're ready in a month or 6 months or a year, what does that look like? Am I gonna send them emails? Am I gonna call them from time to time? You need to set up a specific system for that to ensure that, again, in the long run, you're not letting these people slip through the cracks and buy with someone else the service or product that you're offering, right? And that's gonna require some time, some effort. And also, when you're out there door knocking, remember, again, you need to assess in the moment. And as you get better, you'll become very hypersensitive to this. The people who are ready now, you can close them or get them to agree to buy or set an appointment. The people who aren't, set yourself up for the future. Let them know, hey, I'd love to be your go-to person. Let's exchange information and stay in touch, right? And when you do that and you're getting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 phone numbers and emails every day, think about what that's gonna be in a year from now. And if you're staying in touch with those people and you build a database of 400, 600, 800, 1,000 people, that's gonna feed you a lot of business. But again, you have to be focused on the long game to do that, and you have to do it consistently every single day. Next, a lot of people always ask me, Brian, what do you bring with you when you door knock? Well, I'll speak to you from the perspective of real estate, and then I'll give you some options and some tips in regards to stuff that you can bring in different industries. Overall, less is more, right? The less material you have, the better, because the reality is most material that you leave or give to people, they're just gonna throw it away because they don't care, right? Same thing with all the shit that people get in the mail. So the reason, like when I would door knock, as an example, I would only take one flyer with me instead of handing people flyers, is I created what's called plausible deniability. And when you create plausible deniability, you give yourself an edge and an opportunity to get the result. So as an example, let's say I door knock somebody and they want my flyer. If I only have one, I can say, well, this is my last one. Why don't I take a picture of this and text it to you? Your number's 305, because I'm here in Miami, and I look down at my phone. They'll finish it for me 9 out of 10 times. I'll text them a picture of that, but guess what? In that process, through the plausible deniability, I've just gotten their number. So less is more in the sense that I know if I leave a lot of stuff at the door, it's not gonna help. Same thing with talking points, right? If you're talking to people and you're giving them flyers, they're looking at the flyer, they're not even paying attention to what you're saying. So keep it simple when it comes to that. Leverage plausible deniability if you can, and just make sure that you focus on capturing the information in the conversation, not using materials as a crutch to have the conversation, or you thinking that because you have a fancy flyer or handout or brochure that people are going to want to talk to you, because they don't care, right? They don't care. They'll look at it, they'll be distracted, they'll say, well, I have a brochure, goodbye. So you want to leverage it when you can to get people's information. However, you don't want to depend on materials or handouts, because at the end of the day, they're a crutch and they're not as effective as you think. All right, next, Brian, how do you get over the fear? It's a big question I get. Well, I'll tell you this, yo. There's no one-stop solution for fear. This is what I tell people, and this is the easiest way that I condense it. Your goals, your vision, what you want in the future has to excite you and move you so much that any fear or hesitation that you feel is less intense and less important than achieving that goal. When I got into real estate and I started door knocking and cold calling, who I wanted to be, what I wanted to achieve, and the life that I wanted to live, to me was worth anything. Meaning, I was willing to get rejected and go through whatever to achieve it. And if that meant going door to door and cold calling and getting my ass kicked and getting rejected, it was worth it. It was that dear to me and that important to me. And for many of you, you haven't made a connection with what you want and who you want to be deep enough to understand what I just said, right? You're motivated by surface level shit. You might like my cars, you might like my lifestyle, but you don't know exactly what you want yet, and you haven't really gotten to the point where you identify with your future and your vision, and you have to do some introspection and connect with that, because if you never do, you're always going to be motivated by external things. You're never going to change at the deepest levels of your soul, which is your identity, values, and beliefs, and you'll never be able to get over these emotional issues. If you're at the core, you believe in something, and you're ready to go, you will face anything. But again, you have to identify specifically with who you are, where you want to be, what you want to become, what you want to accomplish, and that has to be crystal clear to you. Then any temporary fear or emotion will be water under the bridge. I've talked about this for 11 years, from the first year that I got into sales and started doing door-to-door and prospecting and all this stuff. And I can tell you that that still remains true to this day. And many of you are led by external stuff, and this is why you lack motivation, you lack purpose, and it's difficult for you to get out of bed and do what you need to do every single day, because you're not being led with your wants and needs and desires. It's someone else or something surface level. And whenever we do stuff surface level, it's always temporary. So what are some other little practical things you can do? Well, go with a partner, right? Set up an accountability group. Make there be a punishment if you don't hold up your end of the bargain and you do the door knocking, right? And just go for the easy wins, right? Just get out there and start. Hey, if you can't do 100 doors right away because it's hot or whatever, do 50, right? Do 50, have an accountability partner, have fun with this thing, track your progress, because it's these little things and wins that you do every day that are gonna carry you across the finish line and ultimately build that muscle that you need to sustain you for good. All right, y'all, let's continue. We're back at the house. I did my 2 or 3 mile walk. If you didn't know, I dropped off my rental car. I just did a presentation yesterday in Orlando. Dropped off the rental car. It's like 2-3 miles from my home here in North Miami. So I just decided to walk back and start shooting this content. So let's continue. What are some other things? Well, another question I get commonly is the best time of day. Look, I've door knocked morning, afternoon, evening, weekends, and I can tell you the best time is when you'll do it consistently. I was always a big proponent of getting your prospecting done early before you have commitments, appointments, and things that come up. So most days I prospected from 8 a.m. until 12 noon. That included phone calls and door-to-door. Some days it was only door-to-door. Some days it was only cold calling. But I can tell you, you can play this game of, well, more people are home at night. Yeah, but also their attitude is a lot worse because they worked all day. They don't want to talk to you. So you may get some more people opening the door. But when I averaged it out over my career, it was always roughly about the same. And that difference was negligible in the long run if you consistently door knock. So pick the days that you're going to go. Because I've also gone out on Saturdays where I see everybody's home and they don't answer the door when I knock. And I've done 3-hour sessions where I talked to 5 people because everybody was home, but nobody wanted to open the door because it's the weekend maybe, right? Did that always happen? No. But the point is, go when you're going to do it consistently. Pick your schedule, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 2, 2 to 4. If there's going to be a time that I tell you to avoid, it would more than likely be between 12 and 4 because that's when people are having lunch. They may go out, they may run errands or picking up their kids from school. But 8 to 12, then like 4 to 8, depending on when the sun goes down where you live, could be ideal for you. I just recommend you go out there and do it consistently, right? I already talked about a lot of stuff earlier in the video, but the main point to emphasize here is you have to go out and do this stuff. You got to do it, right? None of this stuff means anything unless you're taking massive action. And if you're not talking to 20, 30, 40 people at the door every day, in my eyes, y'all, you're just wasting your time because a lot of this you're going to learn from coaching and training and experience. You got to get out there, right? So we've covered what to bring, what to wear, getting over the fear, and a lot of the basic stuff. Now, if you want to get a little deeper now, let's say you're watching this video and you say, well, being consistent, how can I take it to the next level? Well, this is when you can start strategizing. Like for those of you who follow me in real estate, go to the areas where homes are selling. Go to the areas where there's equity in the homes. Go to the expires and the for sale by owners. Go preview new listings on the market and door knock around them. Go where the activity is, because then you're increasing the likelihood. Wherever there's a listing or activity, the likelihood is other people are looking, paying attention and seeing what's going to happen in order to plan their next move and their next course of action. So by you positioning yourself there, you can potentially get something because everybody's curious. Everybody's the nosy neighbor. Everybody wants to know what the neighbor's going to sell for and what they're going to do and what the local gossip is, because most people, for whatever reason, just love that stuff. So by you being there, talking to people on the ground level and going where the activity is, you're positioning yourself in a way to capture some of that, and that's what you want. Are you going to get all of it? Absolutely not. But if you can pick a few deals here and there from doing this consistently, that's what it's about. Because in the long run, y'all, the door knocking game is the long-term game. Long term is how you build the skill set. Long term is how you build the confidence, the consistency, the Rolodex of contacts, the leads, the appointments, the deals, whatever you sell. This is the long game, and you got to make sure that you do it right. Okay, so I think this will be a good point for now. Maybe I'll do future videos to specifically dive deeper on certain topics, but the main thing is take a lot of action and get help, y'all. I do a lot of coaching and training. I have courses on door knocking and objection handling and all that. I have actual coaching. I recommend you check it out. I do one-on-one Zoom consultations. All the stuff is in the description for those of you who are interested. I mean, at this point, if maybe I'm newer to you, I've sold tens of thousands of courses with great reviews. I have thousands of people that have gone through my coaching and had tremendous benefits. I'm sharing testimonials like literally every day. So I've been around the block. I'm not some new kid who just showed up and started selling you courses. I've done this stuff myself. I've knocked on over 100,000 residential doors. I've made hundreds of thousands of phone calls. I built a nationwide real estate team. I've made millions of dollars. So I definitely have the receipts to prove it, and let me help you, because what I learned in 3 years, I can probably teach to you in a couple months if you're a dedicated student. But if it's not me, cool. Go to whoever your favorite sales trainer is or door knocker and learn from them. Just make sure you dedicate yourself, and most importantly, take the action. None of this matters, coaching, training, studying, watching videos, if you're not getting out there and knocking on 100 doors. Make that your minimum, 100 doors a day. If you need to split it up, do 50 and then 50 in the afternoon if you go do 50 in the morning. But get in the action. If you take massive action and get out of your own damn way, you will get results. Okay, that's it for this one, y'all. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a good one. Check out my stuff in the description. We'll see you in the next video. Leave me a comment below if specifically you want me to cover one of those things that I covered today in more detail. All right, peace.